Good Sunday afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is where you're at. My name is Tom Connors. Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. With me today is Mecha Random. How are you doing?
I am good.
And of course, the leader of Midnight's Edge, Mr. Andre. How are you doing?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. We haven't heard from Rob yet. He might pop in, so I'm not sure what's going on with him. So I'm going to take the reins today. We got a lot of news and not a lot of time, so we're going to get right to it here. Hope everybody's having a glorious weekend. We've got some news on Star Trek Discovery. Season 2 added an extra episode. This sounds familiar. I don't know if you guys remember when Season 1 added a few more episodes, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But according to CBR.com and a few other sources, I'm thinking of breakfast. Sources, Season 2 will receive one more episode than previously announced. According to Trek Core, actor Anson Mount, who plays Captain Christopher Pike, of course, in the upcoming Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, revealed that at Christmas with the Captains that Discovery's sophomore season would now last 14 episodes, not 13. So let's get right into this. What do we make of this? Andre, since you're our guest and, of course, the leader of all things Midnight's Edge, what do you make of this?
Well, thank you. I think exactly the same about this as I thought about the previous season when there were 2 episodes extra. This is not because they love the series so much that they decided to give it another 2 episodes or another 1 episode in the case of this season. Oh no, it's simply really, really poor writing and time planning. They wrote themselves into a corner and they needed that 1 extra episode. This also might be a reason why the series is as much over budget as it allegedly is.
Interesting. Mecha, you told me something earlier in private, I think it was, that kind of made me think, you could have a point there. Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit, if you know what I mean?
Well, this is just speculation, but I wonder if they didn't just add a couple of episodes to kind of close out the series. Kind of
It's
like
just
how
1 episode, but yeah.
Yeah, or well, so yeah, one episode. Like last season when they added the extra to kind of tie in an end, like do the rush ending to the Klingon War. I wonder if they didn't add the episode at the end to just kind of give some sort of a closing, to give some sort of an ending, just in case they don't come back. Sometimes they do that.
Yeah, it's certainly within the realm of possibility. If you think back to Enterprise, no more episodes were added, but the last ones were hastily rewritten to conclude the series.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's exactly what it feels like to me. But I don't know. I'm just speculating. I have no actual knowledge. It's just a hunch.
Yeah, it's as I said, it's certainly possible. However, I do not think that the series officially is cancelled at this point. So it's possible that they would give it, well, like not leave it on a cliffhanger or something like that. That's possible, but I wouldn't place any bets on that just yet. Let's say I think it's too early to write off Discovery at this stage.
I think for me, a lot of it's wishful thinking too.
Yeah.
Like I would love it to end, but
although, like, if this was an unusual network, the series would have been cancelled with the ratings that all indications appear that it has. It wouldn't last long, especially now that CBS has to bear the brunt of the cost. However, this is a matter of not just Star Trek Discovery, it's also a matter of CBS All Access. And at what point do they decide to stop throwing good money after bad? Which alternate plans do they have? This will all factor into the decision. So is Star Trek Discovery hanging on by a thread? Absolutely, certainly no more than that. But I don't think it's cancelled just yet. But you could be onto something. Absolutely.
Right. Well, it's funny because, that's just it. It's like if they have to cover the cost of this show by themselves, that's one hell of a loss leader. And if they don't get the subscriptions that they're hoping for off of this, I can't see them logically going, well, we just got to keep it going because it's Star Trek. They're going to go sooner or later. No, this is ridiculous. The amount of money we're spending on one show could fund 3-4 shows of other things that could possibly bring in more subscribers than this is doing. And if all this is doing is creating bad public relations between the fans and Star Trek in general, I mean, of course, there's more going on behind the scenes that we can't all discuss, but we've heard rumors and stuff about things being chaos. So, and that's nothing new. It's the same shit we heard during first season and was kind of confirmed over time as well. I mean, what do you think about that, Andre?
Well, it's obviously complete chaos, and also it's changes behind the scenes, changes in management, which we're going to get into far more detail on as soon as we know the full picture.
You cut out there on me, Andre. You still there? Hello? You with me, Mecca?
I am.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Not entirely. There still are. Like you also have like the that Canadian thing, and the few international distributors, they chip in, but Netflix, they also still chip in, but not nearly as much as before. So CBS, they just have to cover a much larger portion of the budget than they did, and that alone hurts. But It's not like they are paying for the whole series. It's not that bad.
You cut out there right before the last part about Netflix and the other people paying in a little bit. So I don't know how much we lost of you. Yeah, something you just dropped right out on us.
Yeah, well, the summary was basically that, just to specify though, that CBS aren't paying the whole series themselves. Netflix are still paying for it, just not nearly as much as before. Exactly. So that means that CBS risk and exposure has increased dramatically. Exactly. But it's not as bad as that they have to pay for the whole series themselves. If that was the case, then cancellation would absolutely be on the table and possibly already ordered. But since so much of the budget is still covered elsewhere, I'm still not going to rule out that the third season is entirely off the table.
Right, because Blu-ray sales, all that stuff is just money over, because they made their money back already on the first season from the deal they had from Netflix and other places. So everything now is basically helping them fund season 2, is basically kind of what you're saying then, right?
Yeah, well, basically for season 2, they have to chip in much more themselves. Season 1 was a free lunch. Season 2 is not, but they still don't have to pay for the whole shebang. That they don't. But they're going to have to pay for, I don't know, half maybe?
At least, I would assume.
Well, all the big stuff is out of the way already, with like the sets and all the ships and the costume, like all the preliminary, design money for, hey, let's design what the ship looks like and the costumes and everything.
Yeah, but animating special effects sequences costs money.
Yeah.
Reshoots cost money, rewriting costs money. All of those things are really expensive things, and that's money that's going to come to no small extent out of their pocket.
Right, and we're hearing conflicting reports on the sales of the Blu-rays and DVDs. So, unfortunately, on that, we can't really say how well or bad that is doing at this moment in time. Although, at one point, it was sold out on Amazon on Blu-ray for a while, and then also there was reports that Walmarts were having smaller areas ship their excess Blu-rays and DVDs to bigger stores because they weren't selling. So, again, like I said, we've had conflicting reports on that. But again, we also brought up before that whenever they would have an advertisement or something like that on Twitter or Facebook for Discovery, a majority of the comments were, I'm not watching it because it's behind a paywall and I'll wait for it to come on Blu-ray. Even people within the industry that we know and talk to did the same thing. They weren't going to pay for CBS All Access. They just waited for the Blu-ray. So, I mean, that's the thing, is like there is a group of people out there also who are just completists, who, even if they hate Star Trek Discovery, are going to buy it just because they're Star Trek fans and they got to have everything that says, that is Star Trek. So there's also that aspect to it too.
Yeah. And as Michael Miller aptly pointed out in the comments, there's liquidation sales on eBay, which makes it all the easier for those completionists to get to the Star Trek Discovery Blu-ray at less than full cost.
Right, but those liquidations, you got to check the shipping on them, because sometimes that's what they make it look like it's better than it is.
Well, it's like $8 or $9 with shipping.
Yeah, so it's still cheaper than buying it in a store. Yes,
but I was worried if they were like bootlegs and not actually liquidated copies.
See, here's the thing I've heard about a lot of this stuff from China. And thank you, Rookie Critic, for the $2, teleporting $2 now. Boom, Jess Reed, $2 as well. Hail to me, the greatest YouTube harpy and the greatest YouTube harpy, meaning Mecca. Thank you so much, Jess Reed and Rookie Critic. The thing is, with a lot of this stuff in China, I've heard when it comes to the movies and toys and stuff like that, these are people who actually work at the factories who manufacture these things, and they're allowed to take home factory defects. And what they'll do is they'll post them on eBay. I've been told this. Now I don't have anything to really kind of, support this, but I've bought stuff from there that I could say, oh yeah, this was definitely a factory reject. I mean, it's legit, it's real, but there's something wrong with it. Case in point, I bought the Beatles box set where it has all the albums in it. On the side of With the Beatles, it says Let It Be. That's why. Right there is why. That tells you exactly where it came from and why it was so cheap. And I've run into the same thing with toys and other things that are obviously manufactured in China. I don't know if you have anything to add to this, Andre or Mecca. I know, Mecca, you buy a lot of stuff online too. So,
well, yeah, it was mostly like the toys and stuff. I'll buy. Sometimes I'll buy them, or I'll see them from China, and I'll be like, well, it doesn't have a package. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's just like extras. Are they weird paint jobs or something?
Yes, that's too another thing.
Yeah. But I was kind of cautious because I was worried about buying a bootleg accidentally.
Right, because I've heard things where they'll run out of like a certain paint on a line, and they'll end up, and ones will get accidentally run by the machine. So then they'll let those employees take them home, and that's how they're sold, is in a plastic bag on eBay for dirt cheap. Andre, unless you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, I don't know too much about that, to be honest. I know that that's a general thing. I prefer to support my local brick and mortar store whenever possible. Buying from China, I haven't done the last, 15 years or so. So, no, 10 years actually, since I got the complete South Park DVD set. So I don't know too much about that. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So yeah, there's always those factors to factor into this as well. I know that there was that report recently that I think you discussed it, Mecca, and I think we talked a little bit about it on here too, where this report was talking about how Star Trek Discovery was one of the biggest shows, and it was another Parrot Analytics report.
Oh, God.
And in that report, though, they had talked about how it's being widely pirated.
Yeah. They were counting piracy. They're counting Facebook likes. They're counting mentions. I think they were counting tweets and hashtags and all that sort of stuff.
That's what they normally do, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a good. That just says people are talking about it, and a lot of people are talking shit about it, and because it's not good. At least in my opinion, it's not very good. So you can't judge just how much people are talking about something. But that they'll do it. That's a way to kind of falsely inflate their, or at least to, I don't know if they're like trying to pull one over on the investors and say, well, look at all the data and look at how many people are talking about it. It must be popular because look at all these awards.
Yeah, I have something to say about that. But first, thank you, Santo Dominus, for the 20 CADs donation. And yes, I'll try to go easy on Rob, but it'll be much easier if he just volunteers watching it himself.
See, there is a little truth in the Trek log animations. Andre, I've followed you since the Sony Spider-Man reboots. Love your channel. Please go easy on Rob. That's what he said. You know how he hates STD, Rock on ME, and Mead. So yeah, what were you going to say to what Mecca had to say there?
Yeah, basically because the show is really, really pirated, and that's cool and all, but that is because it's behind a paywall, and not just a Netflix paywall, but a CBS All Access paywall. And as we mentioned in the previous, or actually as I mentioned in the previous editorial, really the only thing that these lesser services like CBS All Access does in the bigger scheme of things is add to the piracy. Where piracy went down when you had some very clear and simple services, they right now are going up again because of series like Star Trek Discoveries being behind a wall like CBS All Access, like many people are going to swear against. What I think is a far better indication is the popularity of the shorts. Now, these shorts, you will remember, can only be seen legally in America and whatever place internationally that picked them up. Canada, yeah. But outside of America and Canada, assuming there was no one else that picked them up, they cannot be seen legally anywhere else in the world. All of the Netflix territories, you can't see those shorts legally. So that's kind of like the real litmus test. If the international fans of Star Trek Discovery want to see those shorts, they have to download them illegally because there is no other option available to them. Now, I haven't checked with the most recent one, but with the previous one, it took like 3-4 days before it was even available to download.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Usually that happens on the 10 minutes after it's up. You should be able to download it, but not that thing. No one cared. The interest wasn't there.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. It was like sources were telling us, it's not even available for download yet. We can't find it. It's not out there. It was like like you said, a couple days, which means there's zero interest in it at all.
I think the most recent one, I think somebody was telling me it ended up a lot sooner than Calypso, but Calypso took a long time to get up. It was like 3 or 4 days from what I heard.
Yeah, something like that. And that's a really, really long time in the age of piracy for something to get up. And it does not speak well of the popularity when something takes that long to be uploaded.
Exactly. And in semi-related news, we've been kind of covering this because this normally falls out our purview, but it is kind of a big deal to everything that we've been talking about. Les Moonves has been in the news a heck of a lot more in the last week. We kind of talked a little bit about, I think you've done a couple stories about it too, right, Mecca, where you've been a little evasive with the questioning and stuff like that. And stories coming out about him hiding his hiding his crimes, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it at this point.
Oh, I've mostly just laughed about how he's kind of cocky and he's not really quite in the position to be so confident. And yeah, at this point in time, that's about as much as I really go into like the sort of executive level sort of stories. But yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned him being cocky because this is just another sign of that. Les Moonves has now threatened to sue CBS over the leaks about the sex misconduct probe. Wow. Anyway, let's see what the New York Post has to say about this. Disgraced media mogul Les Moonves is threatening to sue CBS over recent leaks of lurid details about his alleged sexual misconduct, the Post has learned. In what's expected to amount to a breach of contract suit, Moonves lawyers are preparing to allege that leaks to the New York Times this week about CBS pending investigation into Moonves broke a confidentiality agreement and sullied the exec's reputation, sources close to Moonves said. At stake is, of course, the $120 million exit package for Moonves, which could get slashed or wiped out entirely if the board finds that CBS ex-chairman and chief executive violated the company's harassment policies. He was about to get nothing, quoted an insider, citing the report's damaging findings, including that the media exec had oral sex with at least 4 employees as well as 1 network employee on call to pleasure him, according to a Wednesday report by the Times. And this, of course, was a report I was referring to earlier before we got into this one. Do you want me to go on anymore, Andre, or should we just kind of dive into this?
Well, I think that we got the gist of the story, didn't we? Yeah.
I think so.
There is something ironic about this because now Moonves is suing CBS over leaks. And we at Midnight's Edge and CBS and leaks, well, we have a long and good history now, don't we? So
you sure about
that? So yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just so the irony about that. So yeah, a little bit. For the record, though, for anyone in Paramount listening, don't get too cocky. You're leaking too. Basically, of course, I understand perfectly well that he is that he's angry and he wants to sue because he will have had confidentiality agreements in place. And they obviously have been directly or indirectly violated because he would have had it in his agreements that his indiscretions, or if he were to be terminated, that it would be dealt with relatively quietly. This is pretty standard agreement of silence, or non-disclosure agreement, rather. And technically, CBS can say that they haven't said anything to the public, but still all of these stories of the alleged transgressions, they're out there, and more are coming by the way. By the day, and they're not getting any prettier. And I'm sure it's very difficult for him. It's not going to make it easier to find another job. Not that he needs it. I'm sure it's going to put a strain on his marriage. Although I'm sure that she probably knew loads of stuff what was going on anyway. So yeah, but also losing that 120 million severance package, that's gotta hurt. So obviously it's going to be in his interest to take a preemptive strike there.
Right. And as far as his wife goes, I guess the report that just come out did say that a lot of this, or at least all of that they're reporting on, happened before he got married. So that does, I guess, need to be said. So but again, allegedly this stuff happened for years and years and years. As we said before, there's a pattern. It's more Weinstein / Cosby like, as opposed to a lot of the other stuff we've heard that's generally kind of at this, subtle level that, is either just somebody acting out on Twitter or saying or doing something inappropriate at an inappropriate time. These are some serious assault allegations we have here. And just as Rebecca said, this is kind of a cocky move on his part, but it's a business move, like you also said, Andre.
Yeah.
It's a situation where, what are you going to do? This is his retirement severance, basically, like he needs it. But, if you had $120 million at stake as well, I'm sure you would do something, whether, you had this kind of an allegation hanging over your head or not, or allegations, should we say.
Yeah, because that's the thing, that he has two things to do. Either he can be there passively as the story builds up against him, which is going to make it less and less likely that he ever sees any of that severance package, or he can try to protect his rights and his interests, and that's what he's doing. There's no way to do that without coming across as a creepy asshole. But there is a way he can do it and still get to keep some of his severance package, because then he can always argue that they have violated their agreement, and just for that, he deserves a payment.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way sometimes the law works. It all depends on who leaked what. I don't even remember in the report who exactly they said that the report came from offhand. It's been a couple days since I looked at it. I think they linked to it here.
We're probably going to get through it in the next mini documentary, so
yeah,
we'll note in detail for that.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it this way, though, I mean, you don't get to be a CEO, like a big name executive, by being really timid. This isn't really surprising for him to do.
No.
I mean, they all have very ballsy sort of power plays that they do, and this is just another one. So I'm not surprised by this. But
also, in his defense, though, he just stepped right into the culture that was already there. He just stepped into the precedent that was already set by old man Redstone himself, who has quite the appetite, let's say.
Right. We reported on that in the recent mini documentary too, to where he just where they've even had reports where they've done stuff together in some of these parties or whatever you want to call them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not with each other, but like together.
Right.
Like, again, parties that would make Caligula jealous.
Yeah. So, Loktai asks, why are your government or police not doing anything about these problems? Well, a lot of them, unfortunately, fall in the jurisdiction to where they're past the point of limitation, to where they can be prosecuted. A lot of these women have taken to news outlets, actually, to report on these things. So I'm not sure where I tried to find that story. I didn't really see it offhand. I'm not sure how much Moonves has to stand on here. It all depends on who's actually doing the leaking. So again, it's one of those situations where he's just probably trying to save face. And of course, in his eyes, or at least in his reports, it was all consensual and he did nothing wrong. But there is a pattern of abuse in these stories. And for him to sit there and say that he didn't do anything wrong, and if these women are telling the truth, when there's a lot more of them telling similar stories than there is his excuses, you kind of got to look at it one way or the other, that the dude's in a bad situation, basically. I mean, like I said, it's at that Weinstein level, basically, at this point.
Well, it's not quite that level though. There's
I
a
don't
difference.
know.
I don't know.
Well,
There's some ugly stories, but then, um, yeah, it's not quite the same level. And also, what he alleges is that many of these stories are planted to be used against him because there's really not a lot a man can say to defend himself. I'm not saying this is accurate, but that's something that he has claimed. So yeah, there's that to take into account as well. Still, though, not a pretty look and not a good exit for a pretty illustrious career, to be honest, because
right.
even if he has been nothing but bad for Star Wars, bad strike that, he's been a complete and total disaster for Star Trek.
Yeah.
But he's done other good things, or at least profitable
Right.
things. I mean, the guy that greenlit ER, and also the guy that greenlit Friends, and that's a gift that keeps on giving because Netflix just
Obviously.
paid another $100 million for that. Incredibly.
I'm sure he got a pinch of that too.
Probably, yeah. So even if he doesn't get that 100 million severance, 120 million severance package, he's not going to be starving anytime soon.
No, not at all. And that's what I was saying. And Nihilist Shadow brought up Cosby went down. I'm sure others can be taken down too. That's the thing. Unlike Cosby, Moonves isn't necessarily beloved. Yeah, he's respected and he's done a lot of stuff that like Andre just brought up. But unlike Cosby, he's not in the public eye. Anybody who's really well known and what's known about him is generally not good. So in the public eye, this is not good for him at all. And that's where I'm saying it's on that Weinstein level because the predatoriness of this all. And the only difference I see between this and the Weinstein thing is at least with Weinstein, you heard a lot of people warn people about Weinstein and Cosby. We never heard any like stories much. I mean, we've heard stories about Weinstein, but not to the extent until it started coming out. So again, there may be something to where you're saying to where it's like, you know, it's a level of he said, she said to a point, and in the era that it happened, you can't excuse it, but it was a different time to a point because all these allegations are from like what the late 70s and 80s into the early 90s. Because according to the report, they're all before he was married anyway, which he's been married for quite a few years now, I think.
Yeah. Also, quick comment by Michael Miller in the comments. Can we just smile that Kurtzman had his last non-Trek property other than Hawaii 5-0 cancelled by CBS on Friday? Could that be a sign of things to come? I don't know, just saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We can't comment on that yet.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of beat this to death unless Mecca had anything more to say about this or you did, Andre.
No, I don't have too much to say about it. I'm sure we're going to get back into the sordid details in the next mini documentary.
Well, I did see OG Spocklove in chat saying, take it from a woman, no one would sleep with that creep, talking about Les Moonves. Here's the thing, though. A lot of these actresses, especially, will think that their career is on the line. They'll think that they're going to get blacklisted in Hollywood. So a lot of the time, they kind of choose the, okay, I can do this for like one afternoon and then have a career and I can forget about it. And yes, it sucks. Yes, it's horribly predatory, but they will choose that option instead of, possibly not having a career.
Then that also puts it into a situation where Andre was bringing up before too, where the women technically did it willingly. But even if it was for that reason, it doesn't matter. It was still a situation where at the time, from his point of view, they weren't resisting. So unfortunately, this is one of those things where it's a lot more public opinion than it is going to be in the actual courts, because so many of them are out of the statute of limitations. But what is at stake here, and what we all keep bringing up, is that $120 million severance is the big deal right now. And that's what the investigation at CBS is all about.
Yes, and that is what all of these leaks and everything are about. Because obviously I can't guarantee it, but it looks very, very likely that the whole reason that these stories have been leaked is to make it easier to justify withholding that severance payment. So I think that's what this is ultimately all about.
And then just to kind of put a cap on that, with the public point of view, there's been a lot of people saying, well, even if he does get it, CBS should give that money to some kind of organization for battered women or assaulted women or something to that effect.
Oh, but they're doing that. They're going to give a huge donation to some kind of organization like that. And what they did, that they promised that any severance that still might be due to Moonves, that donation would be deducted from that. This is one of the things that they made public when he was initially fired
Right.
earlier this fall.
No, I know you're not a lawyer now, but would that be something maybe that Moonves might have a foot to stand on in suing if they just decide that they're going to do that with his quote unquote severance, since he's actually the one if it does come to that, I mean, can they just do that?
No, they can't just do that. They can say it and make themselves look good and everything and hope everyone forgets by the time the severance is actually due to be paid. They can hope everyone else will forget, but we won't. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. That's what I figured was a PR
throw that right back in their face. So, yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the next bit of news. This is actually some good news, I guess. At least it is if you're at Marvel. Unsurprisingly, actually, Avengers Endgame trailer breaks historic single-day viewing record. We kind of predicted this was going to happen. What do you guys think of that? It's not real surprising, like I said anyway, unless you guys are surprised by it.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I mean, this is like one of the most anticipated movies of all time, so of course it's going to break records.
Yeah, I agree. I'm no surprise at all. As you may recall, I personally was not a fan of the teaser, but not surprised that it's been huge. Not after the ending of Infinity War.
Right, and yeah, 289 million views within the first 24 hours. Wow. So that's going to be a tough feat to beat. Probably another Marvel movie will beat it, I'm sure, at some point. But then again, it's like almost every time one of these trailers drops anymore, they beat some record from before, so it's almost like not a thing anymore.
I think they broke their own record, didn't they? Didn't they have the previous record?
I think so, yeah. With I think it was for either Infinity War or one of the last Marvel movies, yeah.
Well, it definitely wasn't anything after Infinity War that did that. So yeah, I think it was Infinity War.
See, I think the next one that will break this record will be like the full-length trailer or the teaser for the episode 9. Don't hate me in chat, but I still think people are going to go and watch the trailer for episode 9 for Star Wars. That might do pretty well. But then again, I don't know. It might break it.
Yeah, just have to comment and say thank you to Slash for his 20-euro donation. And he says that this Endgame trailer will be the only one I watch before the movie's release. It also made me reconsider some major movie marketing campaign. Who needs 3 different trailers to get pumped? Honestly, you know what? I see your point, especially for this movie here. I think that the movie is going to be like one of the biggest movies ever, just with this trailer right here. Go in, know nothing. That would be perfect. May not be the real world, but it would be perfect. So yes, kudos to you, and make sure you avoid spoilers and all the other trailers. Stand by that.
Yeah, Infinity War was the record holder before that. And this knocked both that and Lion King off the top, because Lion King just came in at number 2 behind Infinity War. So it is a big deal, but like you said, I don't think it really means much in the grand scheme of things, because like you said, this is going to be probably bigger than Infinity War was, unless the movie sucks. Unless people come out of it going, oh, it's horrible. And then that might affect things. But I think this is one of those movies where it's so big that even that's not going to affect it. But you're probably not wrong about the episode 9 trailer, Mecca, but because there's a lot of pent-up stuff about that one way.
Well, a lot of people are going to want to hate watch the episode 9 trailer. They're going to critique it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to hate watch the movie.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah, it's still going to do well. Don't get me wrong. I've never said that it wouldn't, but I said to people, don't be surprised if it's the lowest grossing Star Wars movie in a long time. Yeah. Outside of Solo. I mean, as far as like actual episodes, it'll be the lowest grossing one probably.
Yeah, because that's like the thing, and this is also true for for Endgame, that it might open huge, but if people really don't like the movie, it's going to drop fast and drop hard. That's what happened with The Last Jedi. It opened huge, but then as the weeks went on and the backlash started setting in, it dropped. and it dropped really bad and faster than a movie with that kind of opening should. So there's a huge discrepancy between that movie's opening and final box office tally.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't get all the repeat business because normally like your big hardcore fans will go and see it 2 or 3 or 4 times. And if they hate something, they're not coming back. They're not bringing their friends and family. They're not going to keep spending their money. So yeah, if the Avengers, if Endgame is crap, then yeah, it'll be a whole new Last Jedi, I think. But I don't think they're going to. It's too early to tell though.
Exactly. I hope it'll be good. As I said before, I'm actually very skeptical against that movie, but I hope for the best.
Right. Yeah, and Santa Dominus brings up in the chat, episode 9 may break the record for most downvotes. That's very probable. That's very probable. And just out of pure spite and hate.
Well, what they'll do is they'll remove all the downvotes.
Or can they shut off voting?
Yeah, they can disable voting. They can shut off comments.
Okay. See, that's how much we do that shit.
Yeah, we've never done that.
Exactly my point.
Well, actually, we did it for the channel trailer. That's it. But other than that, even if you hate whatever video we do, like people, we didn't hate The Last Jedi enough when in our round tables, which even had Monday Matt, which we also got paid for. But yeah, no, still comments stay on always, no matter what. You want to hate on us, then go right for it. We'll take it.
No, in one way we were either not hating it enough or we were hating it too much. You could never make anybody happy on that one, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But,
well, people kind of hear what they want to hear, though. They hear if you say one positive thing about something that they hate, even if you hate it as well, they'll still hear, oh, but you're a shill because you said one good thing, because you said you liked the cinematography or something, or you like porgs.
Well, people get pissed at me because I'll stick up for Yoda with the Force lightning thing.
Yeah, I didn't mind Yoda.
It's like that's like the least of this movie's fucking problems.
I know.
It's like, okay, so Yoda used some Force lightning and he's a Force ghost. He's a part of the Force. Who's to say, well, why can't he? And then everybody's like, well, then why doesn't they just go over and beat up all these guys? Well, I'm sure there's ways and things you can't necessarily do, because remember, Obi-Wan said he could not interfere if Luke faced Vader or whatever. And it's like, okay, so there's probably some kind of real stupid rules, but Lucas never explained those because he was supposed to in the prequels, and it was like, oh, shit, I forgot I was supposed to talk about this. I'll just throw it in at the end here. You know, it's like something that all these other Jedis have never been able to do before. And then it's the same thing with this Luke thing coming out here. And I wish Rob was here because he loves bitching about this. To where now Luke's got all these massive powers. It's like, where did he learn all these powers from and who? You know, it's like it must have been Force Ghost Yoda, I guess.
Yeah, probably had the benefit of all the Force Ghosts. But anyway, just a quick aside. Slash had another great question.
Yeah, we're
getting. Do you guys think that, considering the current trend, Endgame could hit the $2.5 billion or even $3 billion mark?
3, no. 2.5, yes, if it's good.
Mecca?
Yeah. Wow.
It's going to be a while before we see a movie hit 3.
Yeah, I mean, 2 billion probably. It's likely to hit 2. 3, no. 2 probably.
3 is a tall order.
Yeah.
2.5 is a tall order.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, 3 is like almost out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, 3 is out of the realm of possibility, not happening. So like, don't even think about it. 2.5 billion, that alone would be a crazy feat.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it's going to have a hard time even matching what Infinity War did.
Because, yeah, I mean, Leo, think about it. We're going to have something come along that's like an OG thing, like Star Wars or the original, like, you know, the original, I mean, or Jaws. Because that's the only thing that could translate in today's numbers to what those movies did back then that could even come close. You know what I mean? In ticket sales. Because, you know, when Jaws came out, the average ticket sale was like $1.50 or 25 or something. You know what I mean? As opposed to now where your average ticket sale is what, 10, 15 bucks? So,
and that's what means that it's just a matter of time before some movie hits 3 billion. Inflation is going to do that. It's a matter of time. But in this time, no, it's not in the realm of possibility.
That's what I mean. You'll have to get something like that, like a Jaws or a Star Wars to come along for people to go, or even an Avatar, bigger than Avatar. because it has to be something that big at this point to hit that number.
Yeah, bigger than Avatar, and in 5 to 10 years from now.
Yeah,
because it's going to need that much inflation, time of inflation before that to become possible.
Because 10 years from now, a Marvel movie is going to hit $3 billion, but like you said, it's going to be more so because of inflation than anything.
Yes. But you also, a better indicator is actually attendance. How many tickets were sold? Because that's the problem when you just say an amount. Because many of the most successful comic book movies today that we hail as, whoa, incredible feats, but you forget both inflation and price hikes and 3D surcharges and 4D surcharges. If you get right down to attendance, most movies today have a hard time matching the attendance of Spider-Man back in 2002. Like, if that had been released today, that would have been a $2 billion movie almost, I think, is what I've heard of, if you add in 3D and everything.
Right. So that's just it. I mean, you have to look at that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a couple like quick topics we could run through here quick. I know you ain't got a lot of time left, Andre. It's gonna be a shorter show, but
unfortunately it's true. So yeah.
So let's run through these real quick, so then maybe we got some time to talk to the chatters. Let's see here. We've got Aquaman's big in China. It's done almost $100 million in 3 days. What do you think of that, Andre?
That's pretty impressive, but it just goes to show that tone matters a lot, and the movie has obviously done pretty amazing. With James Wan directing, I'm sure the movie is pretty good in its own right. It looks bright and colorful. Kind of looks like a Marvel movie, and that goes down really well in China. Maybe other cultural reasons why it does well as well, but so far it's really great start for Aquaman, and makes it more likely that the DC universe will continue in a bold, colorful, more comedic new direction.
All right, Mecca, what do you think about that?
I'm not surprised by it, because actually the Aquaman movie looks probably one of the more interesting superhero movies. Between that and Shazam, they both kind of looked pretty decent. And when you see that versus something like Captain Marvel, where you hear so much negative, like, oh, we hate Brie Larson, we hate the way the movie looks. Yeah. And I don't really hear anything being said about Aquaman, like in any comment section on Twitter or anything, just other than, well, yeah, Jason Momoa is cool. It looks kind of fun. I think a lot more people are going to take a chance on it just as like the fun popcorn movie. So I'm not surprised. I kind of want to see it too. So.
I don't think people have as big expectations going in. That's one thing.
No,
Neil,
it's not.
Thank you for joining us, Neil. Sorry about that. Neil Ganty, one of our, actually, he worked closely with us in the Facebook group. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. Hey, Neil, how's it going?
Says Aquaman looks really good. Sorry, go ahead, Micah.
Well, yeah, and like you were saying, you don't have that huge expectation. You don't have, you're like, okay, well, it can't be as bad as the last DC movie. Maybe it'll be good. It might be fun. It looks colorful. I think we might have like a surprise, sort of mediocre hit with Aquaman. I think it's going to do pretty decent because of the timing when it drops. Like there's going to be people getting out of school for summer. They'll go and see it, or not summer, for Christmas break.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
so yeah, they're going to be out of school. They're going to go. It's what, PG-13. You can just drop your kid off. I think it's going to do pretty well.
Now, I want you to comment on that, Andre, but I also want to throw out there, do you guys think maybe as far as China, do you think it's doing well? Because to me, it does kind of look like an anime almost in a
little bit, yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure that doesn't hurt.
Yeah. So other than that, what do you think about the whole fact about the expectations too, Andre?
Well, I think that many people were expecting the movie to underperform and underperform badly. So I think that any kind of victory it has is going to be seen as a huge victory, just because expectations were so low, which actually really works for the movie because it had a lot going for it just in the director, James Wan. So all that he had to do was deliver a movie that didn't suck. and compared to what's been before, that would be a huge victory. Now, regardless of how the movie is, I have a huge issue with it. And Santo Dominus touched on this as well in the comment, because he said, I can't get past Lobo playing Aquaman. I could not agree with you more. Momoa should have played Lobo. That's such a horrible waste of casting that he plays Aquaman instead. Because when you look at him now in the more comic book accurate costume, this really light, bright costume, his face and his hair and his beard doesn't really match it. They should have had an actor that looks more like the comic book version instead of Momoa for that. I'm sure Momoa is going to be fine in the role, but not as fine as he would have been as Lobo.
Benny Chase will always be my Aquaman. That's a Entourage joke for anybody out there who remembers that. In that movie, they used Aquaman as the big superhero movie that the actor in the show was in, because they would never make an Aquaman movie. That was the idea. They did. So it's like, that's just funny to me. Sons of Aquamanarchy. That's what I think it is. Cute Nerd, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Will Brie knockout of Thanos affect box office because she's a hero? You know, she's going to be the one to kick at his ass. I think what Cute Nerd is asking, will Brie's performance in Captain Marvel, if that film underperforms and if she's an issue with having her in the film, I think is the question. I think
the question is, will Captain Marvel being the one that kicks
that
Thanos'
could be
ass
affect
the box office? I think that's what she's asking. Don't you, Cute Nerd? Feel free
that
to
could be. I'm sure you
confirm.
one or the other, both. But yeah, what do you think on that? Either way.
I think it depends entirely on how it's handled within the context of the movie. It doesn't really matter who is the one that gets the better of Thanos in the end. I'd like to believe it would be a collaborative effort, because no one person can take on Thanos alone. You saw what he did to the Hulk. So if it's handled well in the movie, I don't think it really matters who does it, not even if it is Captain Marvel. Mecca, your thoughts on that?
I think she's yeah, I think you're right on there. I think if it's handled well, if it's something where somebody else kind of sets it up, if it's just Brie Larson coming in on her own though, I like, as Captain Marvel, I think it's going to piss off a lot of people who have been kind of following the behind the scenes drama of Brie Larson kind of going off on what men say, or just kind of going a little too SJW on people in her kind of personal tweets. She's not made a lot of fans by some of the things she said in her personal life, and I think the trailer is a lot, in my opinion especially, it's very underwhelming for Captain Marvel. So I think that could affect a little bit of the repeat viewing. Initially, it probably won't affect the main box office though, because you're going to have everybody in the world going to see this day one, so they can watch all the reviews and react to it. And
I think Andre's right. I think that's what the question is if she's going to be the one to kick Thanos' ass, because that's kind of the big rumor. I don't know. I think they're setting up the children of Thanos to kill him, if you know what I mean, as in Gamora and Nebula. Captain Marvel may assist in that. I'm sure Captain America will have a part to play as well and stuff. There's going to be a lot of people sacrificing themselves in this movie, namely the big money costing people. RDJ, I think, is going to. There's a reason why he's a main part of the trailer. I think this is the last go around for Robert Downey Jr. But that's kind of off topic here a little bit. But did you want to take some questions, Andre, real quick while we got a few minutes? Or
yeah, sure, go for it.
Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Neil actually asked, do you think that Marvel has nipped Larson in terms of stopping her from saying polarizing stuff on social media? I'm sure they've said shit to her, but I don't know how far she is from actually having somebody being bought and paid to handle her, because that, of all the stuff she's done and said, to me, the one that was kind of the most cringy was the Stan Lee tweet on the day that Stan Lee passed away. What do you guys think, Andre?
I absolutely think that she's been called into a room and told that in no uncertain terms, look, you got to stop this. If that happened or not, that depends on, will we see any more such tweets from her, or was that the last one? I would like to believe that if not she, then Marvel is smart enough to know that this can't go on. They've burned themselves too badly. Not Marvel, but Disney has burned themselves too badly by creators expressing themselves out of turn as of late.
Right. Mecca?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at how Disney and all these companies have been handling people like even James Gunn or Chuck Wendig or all these people. They can't fire her, so they probably did tell her lay off the kind of crazy tweeting. I think they're definitely out there testing the waters with a lot of their marketing while you see the, we have this hero, but her is highlighted. And there's a lot of backlash from that. A lot of people are upset about that. Not only just her tweeting, but kind of they're kind of lumping Marvel and Disney into all of it as well with some of the marketing of this movie. So, yeah, I think they probably said something to her.
I kind of get where you're coming from, because it's not like she's Wonder Woman.
No,
It's not like she's a huge character to where everybody knows who the hell she is. I get why they're doing that, and I can understand where some people are coming from. Slash, thank you so much for was that 10? I don't know the
10 euros.
euros.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 euros. He says, side note, if Aquaman is a hit, $1 billion and above, I'm sure WB will uncanon the others DCEU movies and make Aquaman their flagship product for a newly formed movie universe. Well, if it's a huge hit, yes, but Wonder Woman's kind of what they're probably building around. And if Aquaman's a hit, that's going to help Aquaman stick around. And then we'll get to the rookie critic. What do you guys think about that?
I think that he's entirely right. Then the future is going to be built around Aquaman. It's going to be built around Wonder Woman. We'll see how Shazam goes. But the trend that I see is that the DC is going to go in a more colorful, comedic direction, and there's going to be some announcements of other characters to receive movies of their own. That's going to confirm that trend.
Right.
Although we're not going to go into more detail about that right now.
Even though there has been rumors out there, yeah, we don't want to upset certain people. So the rookie critic, though, or Mecca, I'm sorry, you didn't get a chance to chime in on that.
Oh, well, I think if Aquaman is a hit, they'll probably just focus on Aquaman and Wonder Woman because there's no reason to drop her yet.
Oh no, and that's what I'm saying. That don't count out Wonder Woman, but yeah, Aquaman. If that's a huge hit like that, oh yeah, definitely $1 billion. That'd be a big deal. But I don't see. It might get close to that, but I don't know if it will.
It might with like all the domestic and foreign and the DVD Blu-ray sales, but
in its initial run, though, I don't see it doing that big. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. Rookie Critic, thank you so much again for your super chat. $5 this time. Mead, would you want to say a line as a cameo in a skit I'm working on? Doomcock is in it. YouTubers give me their energy and a spirit from the DVDs. Sure, absolutely. Just get a hold of me on Twitter or Facebook, and we can work that out for sure. So yeah, let me see if there's any other quick questions here before we get the show wrapped up.
I think I saw one up here a little bit higher. Comments. I just have to find it first.
That's about all we got time for, so go for it.
Yeah, just give me a second to see if I... The Demon's Reflection. Question for everyone. If Aquaman is a success, will Marvel try to get Namor back from Universal? Yeah, that was the question. Mecca, would you like to go first on that?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Namor. He's
for who?
The Submariner.
Yeah.
The Submariner. See, I'm not super familiar with anything outside of the movies. He's kind of
like Marvel's version of Aquaman, but I believe he came first, actually.
Yes.
I think that would be interesting.
Actually, Aquaman is rather
the other way around.
Version of the Submariner.
See, for like a normie casual like me, I would think, oh, you guys are ripping off Aquaman or something. That'd be interesting, though. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't bring him in. I think, they, especially if, like, let's say Captain Marvel is terrible, they're gonna want to bring in a whole lot of like new people to kind of say, okay, sorry about Captain Marvel, let's fix this. But yeah.
Now, Captain Marvel has to be a real unmitigated mess for that to happen. But yeah,
Yeah.
Andre.
Yeah, no, I think that it's certainly possible that they might bring the Submariner back to as an answer to Aquaman being a hit. The thing with the Submariner or Namor or Namor or however it's pronounced, I've only ever read it, never heard it out loud, to be honest, is that he's also trapped in the same right situation between Marvel and Universal as Hulk is, and I do believe it's also the same kind of solution, meaning that Marvel can't make any Submariner, I'm just going to say that because it's easier for me to say, Submariner's standalone movies without Universal, but Universal also can't make one without Marvel, just as with Hulk. But like with the Hulk, the Submariner can appear in Marvel movies as long as he is not the lead, as long as he's just a guest star. I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility that we might see him, but I do not think that he'll be given a big role, not for as long as the situation between Marvel and Universal persists. If there's a end date on that, or if the rights belong to Universal in perpetuity, I don't know.
Right. I was going to say, Mike's thing was, who's to say after this weekend, now that Aquaman did as big as it did in China, Universal doesn't, pick up that phone and bite the bullet a little bit and call Marvel, hey, that Submariner thing? Why don't we do something with that? That's a good idea, and try and get the ball rolling on that. And then Marvel's in the position to say, well, maybe, but we're not going to do this big thing, or maybe they will be. You never know. But I mean, I have a feeling that if anything's gonna maybe be the band-aid that kind of starts them two from not having such bad blood, is maybe the Submariner, but I doubt it. I don't know if Aquaman's a big enough deal to them in their eyes that it even matters. Like, I know they've talked about the Submariner in the past, but I don't know if Aquaman is a close enough thing for them to actually be like, oh yeah, maybe that's something we should consider. No.
I can tell you right away that that's not going to happen. Universal are not going to make any phone call to Disney anytime soon, and if they did, Disney would tell them to kindly F off.
Yeah, that's what
I'll tell you exactly why that is. Because what goes beyond any given movie, certainly any one property like that, are corporate rights issues. And the blood between Universal and Disney, or rather Disney and Comcast, is extremely, extremely bad. Because Comcast did everything they could to sabotage the Fox acquisition, and they were actually really successful in doing so. They weren't able to stop the acquisition, but they were able to make it a heck of a lot more expensive for Disney than it was to begin with, and they were able to pick up the Sky network, I believe it was, in Europe, which came with the Fox deal originally that Disney wanted, but Comcast snapped it up instead, I believe. That left some very, very deep traces and very bad blood. So there will be no cooperation over bringing the Submariner to screen. I can guarantee you that.
Right, and that's why I was saying I don't think Aquaman is going to be the thing that makes that happen. I don't care how big it is, really. So yeah, unless you got any more time, Andre, I know you had to get going here, so
yeah, I'm unfortunately gonna have to call it the night.
So I think we should just kind of call it a night ourselves. Mecca, of course, you can check over on her channel, correct?
Yes, it is Mecha Random 42. I complain about things and I rant.
And of course, the link's down below. And thank you so much for taking the time, Andre. We know you don't have a lot of time, so it's always a pleasure and a treat to have you on the show.
And a pleasure to be here. So thanks for having me.
Of course. So take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, all 167 of you who hung in there with us. Thank you again for all the super chats, and take care and have a good weekend.